Hey everyone. It has been quite a while, quite a while. Um, Mostly I've been kind of working on modding Skyrim, which is interesting because when you with Skyrim there are so many mods compared to Fallout 4. And going in, I really almost have no idea on what anything does, how well it's gonna work, how it interacts. It's a learning process, and really, it's exhausting. It's a lot to absorb. But, I'll talk about all that stuff later and, just kind of bring everybody up to speed. Okay, so but for now, let me start out with, this, FOMOD utility that I was kinda working on a while back. Uh, Back then, it really wasn't anything more than a placeholder. To me, a placeholder is a chunk of code that exists in a stream of code. You can call that a framework that literally says it tests the logic of the actual application to say, for an example, if you've extracted, an archive file, let's say, a mod you download from any place, and it happens to have, a FOMOD recognizable file name in it, then it will launch the utility. And that was kinda like me creating, go back to, like little go back to points. So, I have a lot of ideas, I cram them all in at once, a lot of them 'em don't work, I have to go back and fix it. They're very basic, but let me show you what I have here. And this is and all of these applications they're standalone. They all use the same structure, which means that what works in one generally is going to work in another unless there is some application specific function that doesn't apply. Okay, so with all that being said, let me show you this. So the applications themselves are basically, they're designed around 3 different components or 3 different component sections. The first component of every one of these applications are the libraries. They're common libraries. They are complete libraries. They're I'm still working on them. There's bugs in there. There's many things I haven't done, but that's not really relevant to what I'm talking about here. So they're basically composed of libraries, and these libraries are universal across all applications. So this particular application, which is the FOMOD utility, it does not necessarily need access to every single method that is in, let's say, the games library. But the games library is complete. So wherever that goes, every method is in there. So if you want to add it, it's very simple to add. So it's all there to be used. The second component is the actual framework. That is what you see here. It is basically a design that literally says this is a title, these are the elements or the controls of the framework, and then it actually handles the events. There's the event handler, which looks at particular events, such as whether you click in a box. And the menus and everything again are all in text files, so it's highly configurable and it's very easy to do. All right. So that's and the final component is the actual application code. So you have the libraries and the application code, which you almost everything uses the libraries. And then you have the framework, which is basically just designs the interface and has the error handling. And then you have, and then the error handling actually calls the different functions, and then you have the application code. Okay, so in this particular application, it's a FOMOD utility, and I finally got around to coming back and taking a look at this, and it was very interesting because the actual FOMOD itself, they really have no structure. You could say they're structured and they have XML tags, but they're not really structured in very specific ordering of tags. It's almost like a free form kind of a thing. So, in order to get this to work, which is one of the reasons I didn't work on it a while back, is I had to modify the libraries to handle parsing XMLs. Now, there is API code, there's window APIs that will do that. However, the way that I wanted to do it and the way that everything is generally set up is XML tags, at least for me, for my purposes, they need to be unique. So if you have an embedded tag, then if you have, let's say you have a tag called name, and then you had an embedded tag called last name, and then another tag right below that called last name, the 2 last name tags are the same. So I needed to make those unique. So I needed to actually have some custom parsing code, which didn't take long to do, but I just didn't have the time to do it. So I finally took time to do it, couple iterations at it. And that way it created unique tags. So I can basically directly access a specific tag. That doesn't work with these kind of files because there's no specific structure. I mean, generally you have the main module names, things like that, but then when you start embedding things under optional groups, you can have optional groups of groups, you can have optional groups of files, you can have optional groups of a lot of different things. So there's really no basic structure to any of that because sometimes you can have group, optional group, it just depends. So that took a little bit of tinkering around with. All right. So to get to the application, it's a FOMOD utility, and what it basically does is it takes a folder name, and if the folder name has a FOMOD XML file in it, it will attempt to build that using a FOMOD. If it does not have a FOMOD XML file in it, it will attempt to build it using a very basic build mod folder method, and it basically tries to determine, and that's very, very basic code. So there's a lot of mods I haven't tested. There's a lot there's more than likely some bugs in there. It's not a lot of code, but it's designed to say, because some people will put like inside their archive, they'll literally just put a plugin. That's it. No structure, no data folder, and then the mod organizer has to figure out where to put it. So I created a method called just build mod folder, and it tries to determine what the structure of the folder is and then build it appropriately. So if it was to find, let's say, a plugin in a root folder, it tries to put it in a data folder. So when you look at the folder structure itself, you will see the data folder. All right. So to get started, what you want to do is I've got a folder here on my desktop. It's just test. It's something I can test out. I'll bring this over here. And you can literally see this is the FOMOD. This is just the FOMOD. And it's, I believe it's Zaze. You can see it's a horse overhaul. Okay. We'll go ahead and close this. So you can do drag and drop. So we're basically just going to drag and drop this over here. And here's your FOMOD. Now, you can drag and drop as many folders onto here as you want, and it builds each one of them separate. It builds it within the folder that you drop into this application. And it doesn't care about the name of the folder. If you can see up here, it actually has the title, but it has this little chunk of information here. This actually comes from info XML, not mod config XML. So I just kind of read whatever the contents are and I throw it up here. These are rich text boxes, so any links, if you click on these, will take you back to whatever the link links to. So if it links back to the Nexus, it'll take you back to there. Sometimes the links are broken because these older FOMODs, the mod authors really didn't go back in and change it after the Nexus changed their links, because I think when they upgraded their web software, their server software, they changed links and all that kind of stuff. They rearranged their data structures there. But all this is up here and gives you information about it. Now to the FOMOD, it really cares about the name. This is what it cares about. And there's a reason for this. It is because it actually has It remembers your previous options. I seen another mod author do that, and I thought that's a really good idea. And I do like to give credit where credit's due. Not everyone does that, but that's on them, not me. So another mod author actually had an idea where he restores the settings, and I'm like, that's a really, really good idea. So I went ahead and incorporated it into the application. Now it looks at the name up here. So this is what it looks at. See, this is Zay's name. That's what it looks at. If it cannot find this name, then it goes by the name of the folder. This is how it's going to be stored. So if it cannot find the name, it goes by that. And that's important because if if it comes up to where, somebody's thinking, oh, well, it didn't restore my settings, maybe it grabbed the folder name as opposed to the actual name of the the FOMOD. So this particular okay, so now that's being said, this particular section over here, this is the full index. Now I've done this a little bit differently than a lot of what other faux mods do because I wanted to put I like to be able to see more things. There's navigation, you've got an index, and that's what I'm getting ready to talk about. So I like to have more specific control over what the faux mod is doing. Now, granted, it does look at conditional flags. It does look at those things. It does look at conditional files. So even though I select an option, it may or may not be set depending on how the actual faux mod is coded. Okay, so so let's go ahead and look at this section here. Oh, before I forget, each one of these actually it's part of this is part of the framework, not the FOMOD application. So full view basically just makes the whatever the control is as big as possible and you can shrink it down. So if that option is available, that's literally what that does. That is part of the framework. Okay, so back to the FOMOD. So the first thing you'll see over here is you see a full index. So these are all of the install steps that it finds within the FOMOD. And I had a little bit of a trick to this because, like I say, there's no structure. So I had to literally uh, kinda do it a different way, which you can actually see in the code if you take a look at it. Because 'cause I'll upload the source code a little bit later where you can kinda see it. It's not complicated, but it was kind of, it was kinda more like moving from a specific trying to access a specific, tag to I had to load all of the tags under a tag or get matching tags is basically what it is. But like I said, you can look at the code, and we'll talk about that later. But here's the index. The index can be brought up anytime by doing Control A. That's in the key map file. So each application has a standard key map, but then you can override that key mapping in the application specific any. So to actually do this, you can either click Start, which will take you to the first available step. And these steps are the hidden flag is respected or should be. Now remember, this is something I kind of tossed together just to kind of get it done where I can use it. So there's probably some instances of faux mods that are a little bit different, or maybe they're malformed or something, and I need to take a look at those to see how I can handle it. But you can see the option I already took. It remembered that. And you can look at different options. You can go through. It works just like a regular FOMOD, except it's independent. It's standalone. So it doesn't need anything. It doesn't need any other mod manager of any kind. All right. So the navigation controls down here, you saw start. If you do next, it takes you to the next option. And you can see one that I picked. Now, it won't select the option until I click one of these boxes. Now, an important thing to note, one of the things it doesn't have right now is I put the code in there, but it's a little bit tricky, and I didn't want to spend time working on the actual logic because I've got other little chunks of code I'm working on, which I will probably make a quick video on that here in just a little bit. I if I there, yeah. So I can do it to kind of share the information, It still works, and it's still a work in progress, but, yeah, I can do that. Alright, so, like I say, it works like any other selection. However, one other thing to note is, do you see where it says "Select any"? Sometimes if it says "Select exactly one," it will let you select more because there's no edit in here which says, "Oh, this group of options is only select exactly one." So you have to pay close attention to that. If I click install, it will actually do the install, and we're gonna do that here shortly. Over here, there's 2 different forms that's open, 2 different windows, if you wanna call them that. This is called the immediate window. This is where you get to see the results of what the FOMOD is doing. And then this is kind of like a debug window. You can specify, and this is framework level. This debug window is framework level. This window is application level. So all frameworks will have this. This right here really only applies to the FOMOD. And you go into this particular form, just to let you know, you specify what messages you want to see. What you know, it's whenever messages are generated a little bit differently now than what they were. I've actually got a background thread running that handles that, and that way it runs independent of the actual event, the actual input event, so that way you can stack things up. It's a more efficient way of doing it. It was a better way to do it. And there's lots of better ways to do different code, which I'm kind of working on at the moment. So I'm getting there. All right. But, anyways, back onto this. So you can put whatever message you want to see over here. So when messages appear over here, you can look for certain text, and if you find that certain text, it'll automatically put it here for you, and that way you can watch. Basically, you can watch for specific messages. This again shows the output. It's basically shows what the FOMOD is doing, or if it's an immediate command, which I'm going to show you, it'll show you the result of that command. Okay, so let's say that I want to go ahead and build this. So I'm going to hit install, and it doesn't really install. So I'm going to change that to build because it doesn't really install anything. It just builds the folder. So now if you look over here in the actual FOMOD folder, you will see the data folder. Now, these are still here for now. They'll be here until you exit the application. So here's the data folder, and you can see that it's built. These are the options I picked. So let's say you're thinking, wait, I think I want to change that, which it could change any of the files within that FOMOD. So what you can do is you can go back to the index. See over here, there's index. You can go back and click this because anytime it hits the end, you see like an install, which again, this is going to be build. Because I just now thought about that and I'm thinking that really needs to be build because that's misleading. And we can go back over here to index. Okay, you can see that now there's a little identifier in front of the selections. These are the steps. And it says basically you visited that step. So once you go to this step directly, then you can literally say, okay, I visited that step. To go back to the index, we're going to do a control A. And that's just how I've got it mapped. You can map it any way you want, but that's how I've just got it mapped. I don't have this resetting back to that. So, and that I can do that. All right. So anyways, back onto this. So once you click start, let's say that I can change any option I want. However, the data file is already been built. The data folder's on that file, but the data folder's already been built, but we want to change that. So what I'm going to have to do is if you click start again, start automatically will delete the data folder. Because you're saying, I want to start all over again. So I went ahead and put that in there. And that way, if you're thinking, I want to change my options, I need to go ahead and start over again, that deletes the data folder. You can see that it's gone. And this way, you can go back and, you can change your options. Now, here's what I'm talking about. You see where it says is select exactly one? There's nothing in here to stop you from doing this yet. So I've got to put that in there. It wasn't a priority at the moment because I've got other code that I'm working on, which I'll show you here in just a little bit, to kind of share the ideas. Uh, So, but it is coming, but right now it does work. So you can see over here that you can see over here what was copied. So once I clicked install, let's go ahead and do this again. So we'll click install, and this is just it's basically like you can see that it added the new messages to the existing. You can go in here and clear them if you want. I can clear these out if I want. Let's see if this works. This is probably just testing code here. Which it does not. Okay, so but that's fine. I didn't know if I put that in there. I think I was kinda working on it. Okay, so for right now, the one way we can do this is this. We can close this, and we can just simply open it back up. That's the way to do it, and now it's reset. So if you go to install, notice over here that the icons no longer show a check mark, that they show a replace. So it's telling you that the data folder already exists and you're replacing the files that's in it. And this is kind of good because when you select options in a FOMOD, you don't really know exactly what it's doing. This gives you an exact, this tells you exactly what's going on behind the scenes. So you literally can see which source folder is being copied, the result of the copy. And if it can't copy it, if for some reason there's something I missed in the FOMOD, or for some reason it can't copy a file, which basically I believe it renames it. But if it can't do that, it'll give an X and it exits out. So it'll tell you, okay, there was a problem here, and it'll exit out of building. So you can actually see where it stopped. And if it does, just let me know and I'll take a look at it. But this way you can see that it actually rebuilds. To show you how this works, if I go in here and I delete the data folder, I'm just going to manually delete this. It's gone. Okay. So now if I build again, you'll actually see it says, okay, these files don't already exist in this built data folder. Therefore, so you can do it again and see. Okay. Um, there is another thing you can do, which is called a direct command. A direct command is, let's go back over to here. We'll go back to the index, and you can see that I've covered both the steps. Now, this shows all steps. It's a full index. See where it says full index? It's a full index, which means that it shows steps that would not normally be visible until you've selected certain options. That's what the navigation, this is the navigation bar here. So if you go next and the next step is not visible, then it will skip that step and go to the next one. So I think I had a FOMOD where it had screen resolution 16 by 9, 21 by 9. I'm using 32 by 9, but it only had two options. So if I selected 24 or 21 by 9, then it completely skipped any type of interface file for 16 by 9 and went straight to the 21 by 9. So you have that's what this navigation bar is for. And of course, you got a little status bar, tell you what it's doing. But you have what's called direct command. So a direct command is this. You can look this right here. You can look at this and see where I rebuilt. I actually rebuilt the configuration file. It doesn't change the configuration file on disk. It builds it in memory. So it basically loads it and it puts it in a format that I can directly use. And you can see how it's a little bit different. Whereas normally you would have this, as an example, would be up here. You would have it here as opposed, and then, you would have, it would look something like that right there. So I actually reformatted it so I could directly access it. And you can see right here where there is a plugin. So under this plugins, here is a plugin tag, but also you can see here, there's another one, so I had to make it unique, and that's what I did. That's why you will see these numbers. So the only thing the application cares about is the name of the tag, not the unique identifier for the tag. That was one of the things I had to add to the loading routine. But here's what I wanted to show you. So here's the tag that says folder. And this is important because folders and files are handled differently. So in the application over here, if you have a folder, then it needs to get a list of files in that folder. If you have a file name, then it needs to basically generate the actual file name and target file name you want to copy from and to. So you need the source and the target. So in a FOMOD, the source will be different. So the source here, the source will be different than the destination if it's a file. So that's important. So what you want to do is you just copy it. Just do a control C, and you can copy as many of these as you want. So let's say you had something that looked like this, right? You can grab this whole block. You can grab the whole block if you want, but since it's the same thing, we're only going to do one. Okay. So, but we know it's a folder. Now, sometimes it'll put folder in front of it. Sometimes it'll have something that looks like this. It'll have folder, and then it has the actual uh, tag properties, and then it ends like this right here. It looks like this. And this one would be fine because this has the folder identifier in it. In this case, I could literally take this and go over here and just do a control E, and that's going to do a direct command. But for right now, some of these, a lot of these, I don't have that, so I'm going to show you this first. So we're going to grab this right here. We're just going to do a copy. We know it's a folder because it's under the folder tag. So we're going to go over to here, and what we're going to do is we're going to do folder command. And if you, whoops, yeah, that must have had a, that one didn't work. Okay, let's try this again. I think the problem it has a question mark or something in it. Let's see if that was it. Let's try this one more time. All right, we do want to take a look at this. Let's see, what did I do? I think the problem is the question marks, maybe. Maybe. Let's see. It may be something I'll have to take a look at, but we'll see. Let's just take a look here. Oh, we gotta go over here. Let's see. Folder command. There we go. So that worked. I'm not sure what I did. I must have probably copied and pasted a whole bunch of stuff and didn't actually redo it, or thought I did. Okay. So anyways, it's a bug. But you can see over here that there's the command. So we'll grab another one here. Let's go ahead and ditch this. We'll grab another one, which is, how about this one? There's a folder. Let's grab this. I don't know what this is, but let's grab it. All right, we want to do folder, and there we go. So you can see that you can directly copy, and this is the actual syntax that it uses. So that's called a direct command. So you can use the index to select the ones you want. It does remember your previous selections, but it only remembers this after you do an install, or which this is going to say build. So once I did this, now if you notice, I already have files in the data folder. Once I click start, they will be gone. So this will tell me if they're still there, and they are, because you can actually see where or no, I guess they're not. Maybe if I hit start, it actually deleted the data folder, because I think this is where it may have overwritten some stuff. Although that may have overwritten some of the stuff that I just copied over in direct. No, because there's a lot more files than that. Okay, and that's pretty much it. So go back here. So let's say we got another one. Let's say you got another completely different folder that you've extracted. Just grab it and you drag and drop. So let me do it like this. Let me say you're in the middle of, let's do start. That cleans data folder out. Let's do this. And I'm talking about the data folder in the folder you're building, not the install data folder. So you can see we're right in the middle of this. So I'm going to go back over to here. I'm going to drag and drop. It's going to be the same one, but I'm going to drag and drop another one in here. And you can see that you can just literally drag and drop as many as you want. Each one of them is treated independently. Now, on a side note, if you wanted to automatically install this particular folder into your game, there is a method built into the games library which this uses. It's called, I believe it's called direct install. And all you have to do is, the method is not in here. I might put that in a little bit later, but it's just as easy as going into the framework and putting the option code in there, which I believe is 1620. So you just make a case statement 1620, and then you want to pass to that game library the game information, which basically tells all the methods what game you are currently modding. So it has a whole list of variables that it keeps track of for each individual game. It loads those variables up. So like when this first ran, it loaded the variables for Skyrim Special Edition. And that's all, everything you really need is over in here. It's basically under, I believe you're going to find it under game config, which is right here. It's right here. So you can see this has all this in here. This is what this is. And that's what that's designed for. It's designed to work across many different applications. And you literally would just pass to direct install or install mod. There's different functions where direct install, each one of them allows you to change specific parts of the installation. So, and it's been in that library for quite some time. You can install to a specific folder or you can install to the game installation folder. It just depends on what you specify. But you can so with that, you can literally have something that's standalone that directly installs stuff into your game. Now, the install, just a little bit of more information on the install function. The install function actually utilizes the manifest. It's a manifest for every game, has its own manifest, and it basically keeps track of what you do to that game. The manifest is definitely a work in progress. I'm still working on that. I kind of bounce back and forth, but it still needs some work. So don't consider that an abs. Don't consider the manifest an absolute yet. But in a sense, you could install or uninstall. Now, an uninstall doesn't make a lot of sense because you're building the folder dynamically, and that means you'd have to have a copy of the folder if you wanted to uninstall that particular mod. However, there is another option that is built into the games library that lets you uninstall based on the manifest, but you need the manifest entry. So that being said, that's a report that's built into the games library. So you literally would have to have an option up here that would say manifest entry, which calls that function and then throws the form up. And that's just simply copy and paste from the main application. I might put that in there as well. And that makes it completely standalone. But you'd have to run the application and then you'd have to be able to access. So I might put it over here somewhere where it would say like uh, uninstall by manifest. It's whatever you want to call it because it's all in a text file. Each application has its own configuration text file. So it's almost really completely configurable. That includes background titles, buttons, images, all that stuff. And colors, it's all configurable. Um, but you can make it completely standalone if you want. That's, so and I like things that are very utilitarian. I like something that has many different functions. It's the same thing, but it can be used many, many different ways. I like having that type of flexibility. I really don't like being locked into, especially when it comes to programming one specific way. Now, in some cases, it's important to do that, and not to get into the philosophy of coding, but it's important to do that if you don't want the user to select a bad option, which can actually crash the app. So I can see that under certain circumstances, but since it's just me and this is generally something I just made for myself, then I don't really kind of worry about it. Because like you can see, if it crashes, I can go in and make a quick mod and make a quick change to it, and then figure out what I did, and then maybe put an edit in there so it doesn't crash, recompile it, and good to go. But, okay, but that's pretty much this. This is how it works. It's a standalone FOMOD utility. It's got navigation, normal navigation you would think. It's got full index where you can directly go to whichever thing you want. It remembers the option you chose last based on the name of the actual plugin. Now, though, a note on that is that if it's the same plugin name, I mean, if it's the same FOMOD name, not plugin, but FOMOD name, same name, then they may add different options to it. So if it can't find that specific tag, then that option will not automatically show. So you can do that. You can click install. You can go back. You can do index. It tells you, see, you can see where I just only visited that one. And I put this in here because some phone mods have a trillion options, which it's good it has it. It is good it has it, but it can be kind of there's a lot to it can kind of overwhelming because there's a lot to go through. You have to check the options off. But this way you can see that, yeah, I did visit this one. I'm actually going in by index here. So I actually visited this one, but I need to do this one, this one, this one. Or you can do the normal navigation, however you want to do it. You can do direct commands, which I showed you, ignore the crash, but you can see where if you select the right one, it'll tell you. So that's fine. I think the problem was it had the brackets in there. That was the problem. It didn't like the brackets. I'll probably have to like trim that back off. But I thought I did it. I'll check on that. But yeah, so anyways, that's that. You can tinker around with it. I'll upload it here in a little bit. Like I say, it's been a while since I've actually recorded any videos. I have to get back into this. I've been mostly trying to figure out Skyrim, which is it's exhausting because there's so many mods, so many new things. I don't know how they interact. It was like Fallout 4 when I did it. So you know, the first thing I do is I kind of follow not necessarily a guideline, but I look at things I think I might want, look up different guides to see if what I wanna put in there is something that, would be stable, and then the next phase is I'm like, "Oh, this looks really cool," and then I start just machine gun meatballing the whole thing with everything I can think of. It completely wipes everything out, and then I go back to what I should have done in the first place, which I create an installation order, and I'll show you guys that next. Um, but that's what I should have done, and that way it makes it much, much easier to debug. So, but I wanted to share this because this should work with Fallout 4, should work with Fallout 3, anything that uses a foam mod. I haven't tested them yet, so I've been mostly doing Skyrim, so I won't know until I go back. I want to hop back into Fallout 4, check it out, and see how it works. But I want to show you guys this. You can kind of see how it's broken down in 3 segments. Libraries. You've got the framework, and then you've got the actual application code. I'll upload the source code to this as well. I'll put it all in the package like I normally do. You can look and see how I did it. It's standalone, doesn't require a mod organizer, and this is for people who likes to do things manually. I like to do things manually myself because I like to know what's going on. The more that I know what's going on, the better I can troubleshoot my problem. I'm not always there's nothing wrong to me, there's nothing wrong with asking for help, and oftentimes you get really good positive help, but many times, it's not quite the case for various reasons. So, I like to be able to do things on my own, and that way I can share it like I just did. All right. So I'm going to hop off of this thing and then I'm going to show you more of what I've been working on the main mod helper application. All right. So I haven't really left. I've always been here. I just haven't been as active as I normally have. I'll take time off doing things and kind of relax and chill, or I get some different ideas and then I'll go back in and completely restructure everything. And I'll get about halfway through that idea and I'll be like, "Oh, I'm gonna restructure this again," and I do it again, and, pretty soon it's like I'm sitting on the couch with just a bunch of coffee thinking, "Man, why did I even start this project in the first place?" Because it's so overwhelming. Alrighty, so, I'm gonna close this one out, and I'll move on to the next one and show you guys what I've been working on.